Welcome to This Week in Missouri Politics. 43 hours before the polls open for the primary, we're here with the people, all the longtime Republican candidates that are here for the Missouri Gubernatorial primary. Welcome, Lieutenant Governor Peter Kinder. Welcome back to This Week in Missouri Politics.
Thank you for having us.
Ms. Hanaway, welcome back to This Week in Missouri Politics.
Thanks, Scott. Glad to be here.
Mr. Bruner, welcome back, sir. Very glad to have you.
Good to be here.
Interesting campaign. 43 hours before the polls open, the final word. I want to ask you something. I'm trying to think of things that I haven't heard you answer 15 times. 4 years from today, which maybe I can't imagine will be successful. We'll take a shot in the dark. 4 years from today, you're back here running for re-election. That's your plan, right?
My plan is to get the jobs and get the job done. Re-election is the furthest thing from my mind.
How will we know if you were a success or a failure? What's one thing we can point to and say Governor Bruner was a success in his first term?
Well, I like the way you think, because in business you always have goals and objectives. You can measure your progress. You don't kick the can down the road. You know, number one, and this is not in the 4 years, I'm shooting for the first year, ethics reform. We're going to get that. We're going to get it done. I'm going to start in the governor's office. Then we'll move to the legislature and get real ethics reform. Number two, regulatory reform. I like the way the governor of Utah did. He reviewed 2,000 pieces of legislation, was able to change our rules and change 386. I mean, we're going to have the stupid regulation hotline and get these regulations back in line to get business back in the state. I want to jumpstart my vision of Missouri as the distribution hub of America. This is what's going to bring the jobs. We're going to have the road program going, the bridges, support our infrastructure. We'll have a long-term plan in place and launched, ready to go. And finally, we need support for our local sheriffs and our police. I'll be meeting with them. What do you need? How can we help? Give them the resources to do their job. We're asking way too much of them. We need to get behind our sheriffs and our police.
Former Speaker Hanaway, I saw you one time write a memo where your goal was to take back the House for Republicans, and you met it. If you're governor for 4 years, give me something that folks can point to as a success or a failure.
Well, I think a good yardstick is the yardstick that Ronald Reagan used when he was running against Jimmy Carter. Are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? And I'd like Missourians to hold me to that standard, and the specific standard of, are the streets safer and are there more quality jobs in Missouri? And on the safer streets, look, our governor has failed us, our attorney general has failed us, and it isn't just the high-profile tragic events of Ferguson and Mizzou, but the murder rate's up 18% in St. Louis, 42% in Kansas City. St. Louis, Kansas City, and Springfield, Missouri are all in the top 10 list of the most violent cities per capita in America. What can the governor do? Appoint a great leader for the Highway Patrol, a great leader for the Department of Public Safety. Make sure that our sheriffs and police have resources, but the most important thing any governor's going to do is set the tone at the top, not prejudge the facts. Where has our governor been? In the wake of the shooting of a police officer who was targeted, it was a routine traffic stop. He started to walk back to his cruiser in Baldwin and was shot 5 times in the back. Why isn't our governor standing up for law enforcement?
Governor Kinder, we've heard ethics, we've heard safety. 4 years from now, how do we know if your administration was a success or a failure?
Scott, this election is about people's wallets. My administration will focus on raising Missourians' incomes. Are jobs up? Are incomes up? Is unemployment down? Are more Missourians coming back into the labor force who've been so discouraged they've left the labor force? Are we attracting jobs, investment capital, growth, and opportunity? Are we keeping our talented young people here? Those are the metrics. We're losing out to faster growing states. I will back up the law enforcement officers in this state. This is a law and order election. I'm the law and order candidate. I'm the one who went to Ferguson and called out this governor when no one else would. I'm the one who stood up on Obamacare and fought. With some of the other candidates, voters will wonder what they'll get. With Peter Kinder, they know what they will get. They will get proven performance, a proven winner, a trusted conservative across the board on the issues, and one who will restore respect for law and order to this state.
Let me ask you a question, Governor. This is something that I've wondered for a while. You're the dean of the party. You've been supporting Republicans longer than I've been alive. It's an interesting thing. The one person that's not here, one person that didn't make the Soybean Association, didn't make it to West Butler County, is Eric Greitens. You're the dean of the party. What do you make of the rapid conversion from a Democrat to a Republican?
Scott, I've always been in search of converts, and I welcome converts. Ronald Reagan was a convert. But we had a 10 to 15 to 20-year history on him and his conversion, reading conservative publications, writing, speaking out for candidates, even in losing campaigns. Ronald Reagan was not attending the convention of a left-wing Democratic president and cheering him on the way Mr. Greitens was just a few years ago. He has never given us a timeline on his conversion. I welcome his conversion, but voters have every right and reason and basis for saying there are a lot of loose ends out on this guy and a lot of unanswered questions about a guy most Missourians had never heard of 6 or 7 months ago. So we welcome the conversion. We welcome all conversion. I've been personally involved in converting a lot of Democrats in Missouri. I helped build the Republican majorities in the legislature now from the most Democratic part of Southeast Missouri. So I have some history here. I welcome the conversion, but he's suspect on a lot of details.
Well, Speaker Hanaway, we did invite Eric Greitens again. I'm not sure where he's at today. It's an interesting thing, though. He has made it clear on the same TV air we're on right now. He's called you anti-gun, among a whole list of other things, career politician, I guess. How do you respond to those attacks?
Well, they're just false. If you go and you look at what the NRA has said about me 12 years ago when I last ran for office, they said that I was the best choice in that election, that I was a true ally. And they said that because as Speaker of the House, I passed concealed carry. I voted for it. The governor vetoed it. We had to go find 18 Democrats to join with us, but we overrode his veto and made concealed carry the law here in the state for the first time in our state's history. The sponsor of that legislation is in ads today saying it would not have happened without me, and the NRA has given me an A rating in this election cycle. I was the first to call for constitutional carry among the gubernatorial candidates. I've consistently been out there campaigning for constitutional carry, calling upon Governor Nixon first to sign it, and now that he has vetoed it, for the legislature to override his veto. If I'm governor, for sure, I will sign constitutional carry.
Mr. Bruner, this interesting campaign. You were the first one to get attacked early on. I've seen your plant. I've seen people that work there. You were attacked as a bad businessman, didn't pay your taxes. How do you respond to Mr. Greitens?
Well, you know, it's these attacks are the same attacks that Harry Reid started back in 2012, the recycled material that's quoted by the Post, and people use these quotes. And that's the problem with politics. People take the part truths, spread it out, try to demean the character. And I tell you what was a sad thing that came up here yesterday. I heard that Ms. Hanaway is going to launch some attack ads against me, the same recycled attacks. I shut down plants, sent jobs to China. Not one job went to China. I never shut down a plant. That plant was shut down, but it was by another company. And the jobs that went to China was a company across the street. And this is the problem we have in politics. You take partial truths in terms of trying to move your career ahead of character. And frankly, this is why Missourians are fed up with politics and all these attack ads. I will come to my defense, but what the folks across Missouri want, they want somebody who can't be bought, who does not have big dollar donors, who will be the voice of the people, puts his own money in the campaign to ensure that people without a voice have a voice, a real voice, somebody who really cares about them.
And we'll be right back. 43 hours before the polls open, the most interesting primary of our lifetimes, the final word, the last 10 minutes here on This Week in Missouri Politics.
When I built my business, fighting government regulators was the difference between folks having jobs or not. We succeeded and created good-paying Missouri jobs.
John Bruner, U.S. Marine, businessman, constitutional conservative.
We will succeed in bringing jobs and opportunity back to Missouri because I know how to do it and I've done it. And unlike politicians, I can't be bought. I will be guided by my faith, the Constitution, and we the people.
For more than a century, the St. Louis Carpenters Union has shaped our communities. Through trusted alliances, we deliver skilled professional craftspeople while our business partners provide the kind of quality jobs that keep our economy humming. It's a blueprint that has worked since 1882. Turning Missouri into a right-to-work state stalls progress, wipes out jobs, and kills momentum. Right to work is wrong for everyone. Let's keep Missouri moving forward. Visit carpdc.org to learn more.
Conservative Kurt Schaefer, the only trusted prosecutor for Attorney General.
You know Josh Hawley worked for the American Taliban, but court records show Hawley also worked for the People's Mujahideen of Iran. The Mujahideen killed American soldiers, assassinated civilians, and bombed the American embassy. Still, Josh Hawley fought to remove these Islamic radicals from the terror list. Condoleezza Rice called the Mujahideen terrorists. Josh Hawley called them clients.
Why is Bev Randles lying about Mike Parson? The facts. Special interest lobbyist Bev Randles took more than $2 million of campaign cash from one St. Louis billionaire and lobbied to end income taxes for billionaires and replace it with a higher sales tax. Mike Parson voted to pass one of Missouri's biggest tax cuts, wants to end Common Core, and is endorsed by the NRA. Conservative Mike Parson for Lieutenant Governor.
All across Missouri, our new car and truck dealers are building strong local economies. When you buy a car or truck in Missouri, you're helping to support over 20,000 Missouri families who rely on the auto industry for good-paying local jobs. You're also helping fund our communities, schools, first responders, and our roads because dealers generate millions of dollars in tax revenue. Missouri's automobile dealers have been the foundation of our communities for generations and for generations to come. The Missouri Automobile Dealers Association, the heart of Missouri.
Welcome back. This week in Missouri politics, we're going to talk Chris Koster and taxes with the longtime Republican candidates running for the Republican nomination for governor. Let's talk about if you win this primary next week, or in 2 days now. Gosh, it seems like we've talked about it for a long time. What's the key point of contrast between you and Chris Koster?
Chris Koster has failed at his job. He's failed to keep us safe in Ferguson. He failed to do anything about the protests at the University of Missouri. The fact that he is the state's chief law enforcement official and crime rates are going up, he has failed. I, as a prosecutor, have put corrupt politicians in jail, illegal immigrants, prosecuted more cases of child exploitation than anywhere in the country except the Central District of California, more than Dallas, more than New York. And so it's that record of contrast that'll be important because Chris Koster's won 2 elections, claiming he's all prosecutor and no politics. We need someone who can stand toe-to-toe with him and expose his record for what it is and clearly articulate a vision of how we're going to make our streets safe again, because we're not going to get businesses back here. We're not going to get families here unless we become known as a safe and secure place for people to be. Then I'm a mom, and I have some experience. You know, it's been 12 years since I've run, but I know where the bathrooms are in the state capitol and who should be using them.
Governor Kinder, you win this primary. Give me the key contrast point between you and Chris Koster.
Well, Chris Koster believes in the discredited Democratic theory that you can create jobs by spending government tax money. That's one of his key platform planks. He points to the jobs that we would supposedly yield if we expanded Obamacare. He's wrong, and I will go right at him on that. It just begins there. He subscribes to the whole discredited left-wing Obama-Clinton agenda. He's running with left-wingers on the national ticket, and he supports them. He is bought and paid for by union leaders from out of state, union bosses who are shoving a stack of chips worth millions of dollars to the middle of the table on a bet that they can buy the governor's mansion from outside Missouri for the unions. That is wrong. I will go right at him. I will talk about freedom and opportunity and growing our state economy. He's the nominee, Scott, of the status quo. He thinks this Nixon, Obama, Koster economy is just great with 1% to 2% growth. He's wrong. I have a plan to take us to 3% to 4% growth, and that's what we have to have.
Mr. Bruner, I want to ask you, you win this primary, tough opponent in the fall. What's the key contrast that you can say, I'm different because Chris Koster, and this is why?
Well, this is exactly right. And sometimes the Republican primaries, everybody votes for their favorite person, the one they worked with, the one they've known for a number of years. I like this person, I like that person. The issue is who can beat Chris Koster, because we're not going to have a voice just because we win a primary. Hey, we learned that in the Senate race. Anybody but Claire McCaskill did not win. It can't be anybody. It has to be the person with the most compelling contrast. And this is the year of the outsider, the business person, who will get the job done. And the reason I can beat Chris Koster with your help and support is, number one, we have Chris Koster, a trial lawyer that kills jobs versus a business guy that creates jobs, a liberal insider versus a constitutional outsider, a politician versus a Marine. That is a compelling contrast. We did polling on that. 54% for the business guy, the manufacturer, the outsider, 24% for the liberal lawyer. Folks, we're going to win this election. I need your vote.
Mr. Bruner, you just mentioned being an outsider. So the legislative process, like anything, is a pretty complex deal. Coming from outside the process, give me a couple folks that you might go to for some advice on navigating the legislative waters. You mentioned things you want to pass. Obviously, you'd have to have some help in the legislature to do that. Who are some folks that you could rely on to help you pass things?
Well, first of all, folks give me a jab and says, John, you haven't hung around the Capitol and been a politician for years. What do you know? You don't know where the bathrooms are. Folks, we need leadership right now. We need an outsider with a fresh voice and idea on how to get the jobs back in the state. What I have found in my business, there are always talented people. You find great people in your backfill. You find good people that you can turn to. And we have good leaders in this Missouri State House, folks. Now, one of my opponents who's not here has been trashing all of our dedicated people there. But there's guys like Ron Richard, fantastic leader, Mike Kehoe, Todd Richardson, Speaker of the House. We have a lot of talent. We have some new freshman legislators who are doing a great job. Frankly, guys like Peter Kinder have been around, and Catherine as well. Folks, I've never had a problem finding good talent, putting people together and building teams and getting the job done. I'm ready to go to work.
Anyway, you've one of the biggest influences in this race has been this federal shady PAC spending. You've been a federal prosecutor. You've got to see every type of campaign finance back when there were limits and now. What's the best way Missourians should fund campaigns?
Through totally transparent contributions. And that's what's wrong with these big PACs, is particularly this last one, which made the single largest campaign contribution made in the history of Missouri to Eric Greitens. It timed it so that the contribution was made after it could even be investigated and or had to be disclosed. So Missourians won't know where that $2 million came from until after they've cast their primary ballots. We should have a strong requirement here that if you receive a contribution from someone, immediately Missourians will know. They know that about me. They know that I have more individual contributors than any of the other candidates, that my contributors come from all over Missouri, that I've raised more money in Missouri than any other candidate. And if they want to look at who the biggest donor is to my campaign, they can find out instantaneously. We can't do that with these shadowy PACs. They've been used to launch attacks. They've been used to support a candidate. We don't know who his allies are.
An interesting thing. You gave your word to Missourians you'd run a positive campaign. And you have. The negative ads say paid for by Peter Kinder.
Absolutely.
If you lose this race, will you regret it?
Absolutely not. You know what I said in July last year when I announced in the Ferguson-Delwood community, Missourians are tired of the politics of personal destruction. They're tired of this negativity. I would not engage in it. I have kept that pledge. I've run a positive campaign discussing the issues. I said Missourians want facts and fair argument laid on the table, and let Missourians decide. That's the kind of campaign I have run. I have not responded in kind, even when I've come under attack from one of my opponents or two of my opponents. The other guy isn't here, but he's also doing it, and I have not responded in kind. I've kept my focus on the issues. I'm the guy running the ad with the other candidates portrayed as young kids slinging mud at each other. Missourians have had enough of that. I'm also running the consultant-free campaign. I don't have any of the named consultants that my opponents have loaded up with. I've got a lean and mean team. I'm the only one without a campaign bus. I'm driving around my F-150 pickup made in the state of Missouri, and I'm proud of the campaign I have run in this year.
Let me ask you a quick question, briefly. What have you learned in this campaign?
I have learned that small teams are better than large teams, and I have a small team. I've learned the importance of quick response and agility to turn around your team and focus it in a new direction. I've learned the importance of quality people on my campaign and not quantity. I've learned that you can operate one of these campaigns and be in contention to actually win next Tuesday, 2 days from today, without having the Washington consultants or any of the big name consultants in this state. I've learned that if you take your message to every part of Missouri, including minority precincts in the urban area that don't usually treat Republicans very well, they will respond. As they've responded to me in previous campaigns in 2008 and 12, when there were 11 candidates in those 2 years running on the Republican ticket statewide, and I was the only one who found a way to get elected. As Senator Roy Blunt is saying, if this were so easy, don't you think more people would have done it? Only he and I, out of the 8 elected statewide, are Republicans.
So give me the brief thing you've learned.
Well, I've learned that people around the state are completely fed up with the Obama administration, the Nixon administration, the Koster administration, but they're energized and they're optimistic. The crowds we have been seeing in places like Neosho and Bolivar and Cassville, 600 plus. I mean, this is record crowds. People are enthusiastic. They're energized. They really believe that they can take their country back, and it's so inspiring. Last night in Bolivar on the town square with the courthouse in the background, a quartet singing. If you couldn't believe in America in that moment, you just kind of have lost your way, and this country has lost its way. And we have to have a governor who's going to lead that enthusiasm to restore our Constitution and restore our religious freedoms. The energizing thing, the thing I've learned is there are a lot of people who want to join me in that fight. And it is fantastic as we see them not only at these events, but coming into our campaign office, making online contributions. It's sort of an overwhelming wave right now. It's fantastic.
So Bruner, give me quickly what you've learned.
Well, I tell you, I've learned and reaffirmed that the people of Missouri really do not have a voice. They're fed up with the politicians, and they don't have a voice because so many campaigns have big dollar donors, $1 million, half-dollar donors. And frankly, folks, when they get elected, they can't fight for you because they're taking care of the priority of the big dollar donors. They truly want a voice. They want somebody who's been on the plant floor for decades, on the mission field for decades, somebody who's actually worked hard, driving a forklift, understands what the issues are, and I'll be the voice of the people. The other issue is the challenge in politics with these PACs and the unnamed PACs and the attacks. I'm the only one in this campaign that's been hit with over $5 million of attacks. And unfortunately, people use these old attacks from Harry Reid, recycled in 2012, to attack me. And so where Mrs. Hanaway speaks against the PACs, she's using that same lines of attack ads against me from these old PACs to hit again. Folks, we need transparency. We need people who are there who will be fighting for you. We need people who truly care about the working folks across the state of Missouri.
Might I dare ask for a yes or no question?
Sure.
Will Missourians pay lower taxes if you're governor?
Of course they will. I'm a business guy. I'm an efficiency guy. The whole thing is how do we build efficiencies?
Speaking of efficiency, I wanted to move along. Ms. Hanaway, if you're elected governor, will Missourians pay lower taxes?
Yes, for sure.
Governor Kinder, will it be a gimmick of if the Cardinals break 500 in June, you get a tax hit? Will people pay lower taxes, yes or no?
No, sir. No gimmicks. No to gimmicks. Yes, sir. Lower taxes. I will go to work on the income tax. Our income tax is too high at 6%. It starts at too low a level at $9,000. We're surrounded by tax-cutting states. We got to get with the growth.
It is a little frustrating. Everybody claims to be the father of a tax cut or the leader of a tax cut that didn't happen. Probably the leader is John Deal. It just never came. So yes, people will pay lower taxes.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Hanaway, this is the part I've been looking forward to most since we booked this show. Take a minute and give Missouri Republicans your closing argument of why you should be their nominee.
Well, this 4th of July, because of a woman we've never met before, lives half a world away, we got to celebrate our son's 14th birthday. Because you see, this woman chose life, and my husband and I went to Eastern Europe to adopt him from an orphanage with 300 kids in it under the age of 3. We saw what communism had done to that part of the world. We saw people without hope, without opportunity, and certainly without freedom. Then we came back to the United States, and the last customs agent we saw said to us, "Congratulations, Mr. and Mrs. Hanaway. Your son is an American." I understood in that moment what Ronald Reagan meant when he said freedom is never more than one generation away from an extinction. And so even though I haven't run for office in 12 years and didn't know I would again, I heard that call as I saw what our current leaders are doing to our state and our country. And so I'm going to join the fight. I have joined the fight to make sure that this generation passes on to the next generation as good a Missouri as we got. I ask your voters humbly for their votes and for their help to make this state safe and strong again.
Governor Kennedy, you've ran a lot of campaigns. What's the closing argument as to why you should be the nominee for governor this year?
I'm the trusted conservative, the trusted proven winner. When no other Republican wins, I win. That's not a boast, it's a fact. And I know how to get to a majority in this state. I know how to achieve and win and earn a few more votes in the urban areas and still carry 109 of 114 counties. Don't take my word for it on my trusted conservative credentials. Take Right to Life's word. They've endorsed me in election after election, including this one. Don't take my word for it on Second Amendment rights. The NRA has given me the highest rating of A+ as the only candidate in this race who has that. I take my campaign to every part of Missouri, including urban precincts that aren't so hospitable to Republicans usually. I make an honest appeal to them, and I get a few more votes there. That is the winning formula. To unite first our Republican Party. I haven't engaged in the negative attacks, so I'm uniquely qualified and positioned to unify our party, and then after November to unify our state.
Thank you very much. Mr. Bruner, the closing argument of why you should be the nominee for governor.
Well, for all of you who are undecided and all those who are already with me, you'll get a veteran and a Marine who will fight for our veterans. You'll get a business person. The number one issue in the state is jobs, jobs, and jobs. You get a person who shares your values, somebody who spent time on the mission fields all around the world as well as Missouri. Folks, you'll also get a lifetime constitutional conservative. That started when I was in 7th grade, and I have been supporting constitutional conservative causes and candidates for decades. Folks, it comes down to 3 issues here. It comes down to competence, it comes down to character, and it comes down to courage. I have the competence to do the job, the character to do the job, and the courage. I've been under tremendous attacks, and I'm here to still fight for you. I'll finish with a short story. Years ago, I was visiting a school here, and over the front door, engraved in the marble, it said, "Character before career." Character before career. One of the disappointments in this campaign are people that I thought had character, but they're putting their career before their character. Folks, we have a legacy to leave our children, that we will do the right thing, the right way. We will always put our character before our career, and I'm here to do the right thing for Missourians.
Mr. Bruner, I want to thank you very much for joining us throughout the campaign and this morning. Catherine Hanaway, thank you so much for being here several times, and Governor Kennedy, thank you so much for being here throughout the campaign. And again, look forward to having you all back, and we're very excited. 43 hours from now, we'll start to know. Missouri will decide. And thank you very much for joining us on This Week in Missouri Politics. This Week in Missouri Politics, brought to you in part by Sterling Bank.